Hey ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to my channel. Um, as you know, this is my first time actually working on a lawnmower. As you can tell, I only do videos on automobiles like cars, SUVs, trucks, and do video game videos all the time. But this is my first time working on a damn lawnmower. And I'm going to tell you why. Sorry, excuse my throat here. The reason is that I found this lawnmower in my neighborhood down the road, and it was getting ready to be put in the garbage. I already have a lawnmower, a push-in one, electric. I'd like to have a ride-in one day. This was sitting on the side of the road. God knows if it works. It had the motor and everything else already inside of it. So I said, okay, I'm going to go ahead and drag this down from the house and see what I can do about trying to see if this thing will start. Don't forget, feel free to comment if you think you have any questions about what I'm doing. Just bear with me. This is my first time working on a lawnmower, so I'm not an expert at them, but they're motors, so they shouldn't be too hard. If I could work on cars, I should be able to work on this. This is basically going to be a project. If the motor is actually dead, I'm just going to turn it into a go-kart and get another motor for it. And as you know, is that this is actually a Murray series. And this is the model number that I'm dealing with right here. Model number 309000X8B. These lawnmowers are rare now. It's a 2003 model. It's easy to get some parts for this thing. You were able to get them from like Amazon and some part warehouses online, but eBay doesn't really carry anything. I've heard these lawnmowers were really good back then. I don't know. So I guess we'll figure out what we got ourselves into. As you can tell, the motor is over there. Reason being is because when I got it, tires were completely flat. And as you can tell, these tires are dry rotted. They are cracked. I tried airing them all up. They will not air up. I took the cap off of this one. The tube done fell off. I tried airing up this one. It won't air up. Plus this cap won't come off because it spins with the tube. And I did the same thing for this one. This one will not come off because I'm afraid it will break. This tire here is just completely dry rotted. It has a big huge crack on it, like a dry rot crack. And it won't air up at all. This is the only one that's actually still intact, but as you can tell from the rim. So I tied it to my wife's Hyundai and I pulled it with me on the back of it. Listen to the thing go squeak, 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 wobbling, doing like 20 miles an hour to bring it here. It did have a battery in it. It had everything in it that it was needed. As you can tell, the battery goes back here. This is where the motor is. And I was actually impressed because the only thing this thing was missing was the actual key for this. And where do I get this? I found these keys are like $3. They say that if you have the old key and you want to put a new ignition in it with a new key, the old keys will still work because I guess they're all compatible. It's not like a car. You ain't got to worry about them remaking the keys all the time unless you want to. These are like $31 at these Walmart parts warehouses online, and they're like between $31 to $27 online with or without the key. But I guarantee I could probably get it to start by probably hot wiring it to see if I can even get it to start once I get it back in. This thing was a mess. It was full of leaves. It had tons of grime all over it, like it leaked at one time. I don't know. There was a bunch of grime, which you can tell, down here and everything. And there's all the stuff on the ground. This is not all of it. I cleaned a lot of this up last night. I dropped the deck. The deck's outside because I had to clean it up. It has a 30-inch blade on it. That's a big-ass blade. They cleaned the frame up really good, as you can tell, the best as I could. The framing is actually really good. There's barely any rust on this thing. There's no dry rot holes. There's no frame damage. It's not bent. The gearbox on the back, I don't know if it works. The belts, there was 2 belts on here. They were actually in good shape, probably good enough to get it to run when I can. So I pressure cleaned this whole thing off first, front to back. And there it is. It's a 12 horsepower 30-inch cut. Steering wheel and everything's intact. And this thing actually does move like it should. And I found like 3 or 4 bolts that were in the cup holder. And it has the gas tank and everything with it. The carburetor and everything was all connected. Pressure cleaned everything. I got a lot of these grease rags. I cleaned it all up. Took my sander tool and sanded some of that off and got all around the holes. And a coil, which I know that's the ignition coil, I'm thinking. So I took the wires off, cleaned them up best I could. Cleaned up these. I don't know if this works. We'll find out. I took the bumper off, the hood off of the seat. It's over there right now. And if you really want to know, there's the battery. I don't know if the guy forgot this battery was in here. I don't know if it's fully charged. I won't know that till later. But this is the battery that's in there. I looked it up at Walmart.com on the app and online. It is actually a $29 battery, so if it's dead, I could probably recharge it or jump it with the car. I'm going to order me a lawnmower charger for like one that's made for 4-wheelers and lawnmowers, because you get those at a decent price. And we'll see what happens before I end up buying another battery. If it's completely dead, then it won't charge, and the best thing I'll have to do is just buy a battery. And here's the motor. This motor here, which I'll show you the actual thing. This is the motor that was in it. When I heard these are actually good engines. The model number you can't really tell, but I tried to clean it best as I could. Can't find any of these motors used or brand new, because I know it's an old one. I even looked on Facebook, seeing if I could find one. So before I took this motor off, I noticed that the spinning thing up here is missing on this thing. But the first thing I checked is I put my 1/2-inch drive on the bolt on the top and the bottom, and it does spin, and it feels like it has compression. So I don't think it seized because it actually spins. I just put brake cleaner all over it too, try to clean it best as I could. Checked all these bolts, make sure none of them were stripped. Everything was fine. Cleaned them all up. Kind of wire brushed everything. Cleaned all the grease and stuff that was on this and dirt. This must have been sitting outside. Got all the rust off as much as I could, even between the grooves. The exhaust looks like it's completely rusted, but not bad. But it's intact. It's not broke. I could probably sand it down. Since it's just a project, if I get it run, I'll probably paint it with some motor paint, make it look pretty cool. The carburetor, I took it off and everything. I didn't see a lot of carbon buildup or anything in it. But so I still used carb cleaner, cleaned it out really good. And I took this off to check the 2 springs, the lifters in here. They are in perfectly good shape. They were completely clean. There's a black one and an orange one. It was completely clean. Looked like it was brand new. No dirt, no grind. There was no fluid or anything inside of there, which I think that's a good sign. Put it all back on. Cleaned all this up. And I'm just now in the process of putting this carburetor back on. Now, I'm actually surprised because Amazon sells this actual carburetor with the filter and the new line with the little extension. Comes with a whole kit for under $21, which that's a great price. That's pretty cheap for this lawnmower. So I'm not really worried about losing any money on it if it does or does not run or last. So I did take the filter off in the cover. The filter was dirty, but not bad, but bad enough that it needs to be changed. And I also took the spark plug out. It doesn't look like it's that worn at all. It looks like it was replaced maybe a year ago. So I'm assuming this thing may have been running at one time, or they tried. I took the bolts off of here and checked out the inside of this. It has its original gasket. Looks like it was replaced like a couple years ago. So I put gasket maker on it, redid it, I cleaned up the whole bottom of this actual thing here, cleaned the top of this, wire brushed all these bolts and cleaned the threads, and I make sure the gasket was completely sealed. I even checked the piston in here and the actual valves. The valves were not cracked. There was no holes in them. They were perfectly in great shape, and the piston was actually holding itself to where it needed to be, where it wasn't loose, it wasn't broke, and wasn't wobbling. By the looks of the inside of it, I think this motor may run. So the only problem is there's a little bit of a pain of taking it out, because I didn't realize there was a little like four studs on below this thing. Because I noticed like on some Ride lawnmowers, you got to take off the shaft on the crankshaft on the bottom of it. This one you didn't, because you can see where the hole is. You know, I'm just trying to figure out where the oil goes in this one. I don't know if this one goes inside the tank or if there's an oil cap on here, because I looked all over this engine today and I did not see a place to put oil. So I don't know. It might be one of those ones where oil probably goes inside the tank. That's one thing I could think of. But I tipped this thing upside down. I took it apart. I didn't see any water come out of it, any liquid whatsoever, or any rust. So I think that's a good sign as well. And I know these motors are great engines. I know they last and they could sit for a while and they could still get up and run, but it might take a while. So I'm going to buy another ignition just to get this bitch started. I mean, they're cheap on parts. It's a junk lawnmower. So I'm not just going to throw it out, because I could probably turn it into a go-kart or something. I hope this video helps on this Murray series of riding lawnmower. I will make a video part 2 on when the motor is back in here to show you everything else that I'm doing. So feel free to comment, and y'all have a great one.